Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost of the One True God, back with you with the next video in my series reading The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Without further ado, returning to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn as read by Lord Naren White. Must we always kill the people? Oh, certainly, it's best. Some authorities think different, but mostly it's considered best to kill them. Except some that you bring to the cave here, and keep them till they're ransomed. Ransomed? What's that? I don't know, but that's what they do. I've seen it in books, and so of course, that's what we've got to do. But how can we do it if we don't know what it is? Why blame it all? We've got to do it. Don't I tell you it's in the books? Do you want to go to doing different from what's in the books and get things all muddled up? Oh, that's all very fine to say, Tom Sawyer, but how in the nation are these fellows going to be ransomed if we don't know how to do it to them? That's the thing I want to get at. Now, what do you reckon it is? Well, I don't know. But perhaps if we keep them dead till they're ransomed, it means that we keep them till they're dead. Now that's something like. That'll answer. Why couldn't you said that before? We'll keep them till they're ransomed to death, and a bothersome lot they'll be, too, eating up everything, always trying to get loose. How you talk, Ben Rogers. How can they get loose when there's a guard over them, ready to shoot them down if they move a peg? A guard. Well, that is good. So somebody's got to set up all night and never get any sleep, just so as to watch them? I think that's foolishness. Why can't a body take a club and ransom them as soon as they get here? Because it ain't in the books, so that's why. Now, Ben Rogers, do you want to do things regular or don't you? That's the idea. Do you reckon that people that made the books knows what's the correct thing to do? Do you reckon you can learn them anything? Not a good deal, sir. No, sir, we'll just go on and ransom them in the regular way. All right, I don't mind, but I say it's a fool way anyhow. Say, do we kill the women too? Well, Ben Rogers, if I was as ignorant as you, I wouldn't let on. Kill the women? No. Nobody ever saw anything in the books like that. You fetch 'em to the cave and you're always as polite as pie to them, and by they fall in love with you and never want to go home any more. Well, if that's the way, I'm agreed. But I don't take no stock in it. Mighty soon, we'll have the cave so cluttered up with women and fellows waiting to be ransomed, there won't be no place for the robbers. But go ahead, I ain't got nothing to say. Little Tommy Barnes was asleep now, and when they waked him, he was scared and cried, and said he wanted to go home to his ma and didn't want to be a robber any more. So they all made fun of him and called him Crybaby, and that made him mad. And he said he would go straight and tell all the secrets. But Tom gave him 5 cents to keep quiet, and said we would all go home and meet next week and rob somebody and kill some people. Ben Rogers said he couldn't get out much, only Sundays, so he wanted to begin next Sunday. But all the boys said it would be wicked to do it on Sunday, and that settled the thing. They agreed to get together and fix a day as soon as they could, and then we elected Tom Sawyer first captain and Joe Harper second captain of the gang, and so started home. I clumb up the shed and crept into my window just before the day was breaking. My new clothes was all greased up in clay, and I was dog-tired. Chapter 3. Well, I got a good going over in the morning from old Miss Watson on account of my clothes, but the widow she didn't scold, but only cleaned off the grease and clay, and looked so sorry I thought I would behave a while if I could. Then Miss Watson, she took me in the closet and prayed, but nothing come of it. She told me to pray every day, and whatever I asked for I would get it, but it weren't so. I tried it. Once I got a fish line, but no hooks. It weren't any good to me without hooks. I tried for the hooks 3 or 4 times, but somehow I couldn't make it work. By and by one day, I asked Miss Watson to try me, but she said I was a fool. She never told me why, and I couldn't make it out no way. I sat down one time back in the woods and had a long think about it. I says to myself, if a body can get anything they pray for, why don't Deacon Wynne get the money back he lost on pork? Why can't the widow get back her silver snuff box that was stole? Why can't Miss Watson fat up? No, says I to myself, there ain't nothing in it. I went and told the widow about it, and she said that the thing a body could get be praying for it was spiritual gifts. This was too many for me, but she told me what she meant. I must help other people and do everything I could for other people, and look out for them all the time. I never think about myself. This was including Miss Watson as I took it. I went out in the woods and turned it over in my mind a long time, but I couldn't see no advantage about it, except for the other people. So at last I reckoned I wouldn't worry about it any more, but just let it go. Sometimes the widow would take me one side and talk about Providence in a way to make a body's mouth water. But maybe next day Miss Watson would take hold and knock it all down again. I judged I could see that there were two Providences, and a poor chap would stand considerable show with the widow's Providence. But if Miss Watson got him, there weren't no help for him any more. I thought it all out, and reckoned I would belong to the widow's if he wanted me, though I couldn't make out how he was going to be any better of them than what he was before, seeing I was so ignorant and so kind of low down and ornery. Pap, he hadn't been seen for more than a year, and that was comfortable for me. I didn't want to see him no more. He used to always whale me when he was sober, and could get his hands on me, though I used to take the woods most of the time when he was around. Well, about this time he was found in the river drowned, about 12 mile down, so people said. They judged it was him anyway, and said this drowned man, which was just his size, and was ragged, and had uncommon long hair, which was all like Pap, but they couldn't make nothing out of the face, because it had been in the water, and so long it weren't much like a face at all. They said he was floating back on the water. In the water, they took him and buried him on the bank, but I weren't comfortable long, because I had happened to think of something. I knowed mighty well that a drowned man don't float on his back, but on his face. So I knowed then that this weren't Pap, but a woman dressed up in man's clothes. So I was uncomfortable again. I judged the old man would turn up again by and by, though I wished he wouldn't. We played robber now, and then about a month, and then I resigned. All the boys did. We hadn't robbed nobody, hadn't killed any people, but only just pretended. We used to hop out of the woods and go charging down on the hog drivers and women in carts, taking garden stuff to market. But we never hid any of them. Tom Sawyer called the hogs ingots, and he called the turnips and stuff jewelry. And we would go to the cave and powwow over what he had done, and how many people we had killed and marked. But I couldn't see no profit in it. One time Tom sent a boy to run about town with a blazing stick, which he called a slogan, which was the sign for the gang to get together. And then he said he had got secret news by his spies. That next day, and a whole parcel of Spanish merchants and rich Arabs were going, it says Arabs, and a whole parcel of Spanish merchants and rich Arabs was going to camp in Cave Hollow with 200 elephants and 600 camels and over 1,000 Sumter mules, all loaded down with diamonds, and they didn't have only a guard of 400 soldiers, so we would lay an ambuscade, and he called it, and kill the lot and scoop the things. He said we must slick up our swords and guns and get ready. He never could go after even a turnip cart, but he must have the swords and guns all scored up for it, though they was only lath and broomsticks, and you might scour them till you rotted, and then they weren't a mouthful of ashes, more than what they was before. I didn't believe we could lick such a crowd of Spaniards and Arabs, but I wanted to see the camels and elephants, so I was on hand next day. Saturday in the ambuscade, and when we got the word, we rushed out of the woods and down the hill. But there weren't no Spaniards and Arabs, and there weren't no camels or no elephants. It weren't anything but a Sunday school picnic, and only a primer class at that. We busted it up and changed the children up the hollow, but we never got anything but some doughnuts and jam, though Ben Rogers got a rag doll, and Joe Harper got a hymn book, and a tract, and then the teacher charged in and made us drop everything and cut. I didn't see no diamonds, and I told Tom Sawyer so. He said there was loads of them there anyway, and he said there was Arabs there too, and elephants and things. I said, why couldn't we see them then? He said if I weren't so ignorant, but had read a book called Don Quixote, I would know without asking. He said it was all done by enchantment. He said there was hundreds of soldiers there, and elephants and treasure, and so on. But we had enemies which he called magicians, and they had turned the whole thing into an infant Sunday school just out of spite. I said, all right. The thing for us to do was to go for the magicians. Tom Sawyer said I was a numbskull. We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.